And now we get this video from last week of the Taliban. I guess they just stepped right into 1998. They're going extreme. We can see it with this video they pushed out. Now it's allegedly some part of some sort of parade. Just getting blasted in the headphones with that. Some part of parade of a show of force in Kabul, and they got guys skitching, as it's called. That's skitching, holding on to the side of a vehicle while you're on a bike or something. But these guys are on rollerblades, and they couldn't feel cooler. How could you not, though? I don't know what the inline skating scene has been like in Afghanistan in the 90s. They were in the Gulf War, I think. Maybe not. But the Taliban rule apparently has expanded to the fun of rollerblading, not roller skates. They're technically rollerblades, as you can see. They're all inline or inline skating, and they're chilling. They got AKs, they got flags with the Islamic mantra on there, one of the pillars of Islam, and they're going really fast. Let me tell you, when Andrew Says was around 12 years old, he was going pretty fast around some corners on some roads on downward slopes, and it is not easy. So these guys have to have phenomenal core strength. They couldn't have blown out any knees at this point in their life. Otherwise, they're falling and, you know, they're taking a tumble at high speeds. That's the end of the video. There's also some video of them, going through busy street corners with, directing traffic and everything. One guy does a nice backwards turn. I'm surprised they have time to just mess around on rollerblades, but when you're in such a harsh government, you can sort of do that thing. This all ties into, of course, the botched get out. What word am I looking for? Non-existent producer. The botched withdrawal of the United States from Afghanistan. It all ties into that. And a couple days after this video surfaced, we learned that they don't know where the money is going. There's an inspector general for Afghanistan, for the pullout of Afghanistan, phrasing the pullout of Afghanistan, and he doesn't know what's happened to the money. They give money to these, NGOs, these non-government organizations, and they're supposed to just, do the right thing. And the Taliban's not going to. Why are we giving money to the Taliban? The taxpayer. Why is the taxpayer of the United States giving money to the Taliban? I don't know. Read you a little bit about what they said. The Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, John Sopko, reportedly told the House Affairs Committee that the cooperation from the Biden administration and State Department has been minimal. According to the Epoch Times, the Biden government has resisted efforts by the inspector to pin down where the foreign aid has gone. So the Biden government, much like what they do with Ukraine, the State Department, they don't want to know what's happening to this money. They just want to send it out there and say, "Hey, look, we're giving so much money to make sure things go well over there in Ukraine or Afghanistan and now Israel." They don't really want to know. One, because then they have to be responsible for what happens to it. And two, allegedly, some would allege, not myself, of course, but some conspiracy theorists would allege that if you don't know where the money goes and the government doesn't talk about where the money goes, then you can't, know who's on the receiving end of the money. And given what we know about Ukraine, I would imagine it's a lot easier to do some shifty things in Afghanistan with the money than it is even in Ukraine. And the Ukraine doesn't exactly have the most solid screening systems in terms of where the money's going. Zelensky sort of just says, "Give me more money," and they're just like, "Okay." Except lately, he hasn't really gotten it, and he's been a little bit ticked off about that. So Sopko stated point blank, "We do not know, period, how the humanitarian aid is being used." He also alleged that information from multiple sources, including the U.S. Agency for International Development, has indicated that, quote, "the Taliban is diverting or otherwise benefiting," end quote, from the aid, not the intended beneficiaries. So we're sending a couple billion to Afghanistan. We don't know where it's going. The government isn't helping us find out where it's going. And according to everything we've looked into, the Taliban is getting some support from the money. He said some guy from the State Department has ignored countless requests to meet Tra la la la. And he went on to say, many would like to believe that we are aiding Afghan people while successfully bypassing the Taliban. This can be viewed as useful fiction, as it ignores the fact that it's impossible to entirely bypass the Taliban regime. Sopko continued. The inspector general explained he also noted that the Taliban pressures the UN and other non-government organizations to issue contracts to Taliban affiliated companies to partner with Taliban affiliated NGOs and not to partner with other NGOs. That seems pretty obvious, you would think. If you're a person within the US State Department and you're like, we're going to give $2.5 billion to Afghanistan for some reason, and it's just going to go to the people, we swear. The Taliban is just going to let it go to the people. Because the UN says so. If you're going to give this money and then you're just going to say, hey, we trust that the Taliban isn't going to get their Taliban-y hands into it and they're not going to pressure anyone and the UN's going to shrug them off and all these other NGOs are going to shrug them off and just operate freely within Afghanistan. That's a dream. That is not just a regular dream. That is an Afghanistan poppy field on fire, hazy heroin opiate dream from an inside of a den with the Taliban. That's how wild of a dream that is. Smoking opium in a den in Afghanistan. There are no good answers, he went on to say. There are no good alternatives when providing humanitarian assistance in an environment like Afghanistan. So there's not much they can do. If you're just handing money over to Afghanistan and saying we don't really care what happens to it, what is this inspector general guy supposed to do? I think what they expect him to do is shut up, take your $200,000 a year salary, pretend like you're doing things in Afghanistan, and we will continue to pay you. As long as you don't really say what's happening and you don't look too hard, we're going to pay you. And then he calls and no one picks up the phone. They're just like, who's this guy? Who's this guy calling me right now? Why does he actually want to know where the money goes? That's wild. There's a bit more footage we can show of this on your local YouTube channels. Trying to find where they're like pirouette in the streets. It's a pretty long video. The wild thing about it, and YouTube usually doesn't cooperate when we're doing this live, which is odd because Twitter works, Instagram easily works, and then it's just like, oh no, YouTube doesn't want to work. What's interesting about this video is that it was posted by a guy who says he's a parkourist. This had 110,000 views when I wrote about it, power, influence, power, money, respect. This is the guy who says he posted it. Well, he did post it. Hello, my name is Yadullah Marvi. I'm a parkour athlete in Afghanistan. Well, we got to see his full bio. This is a wild one. I'm a parkour athlete in Afghanistan. I've been working in parkour for 3 years. He makes it sound like he's a roofer, right? I've been working in parkouring for 3 years. We've got 3 parkour maps we've been working on. And, I've just been up and coming in the parkour game in Afghanistan. Look out, he's getting his next phone call for the next James Bond movie, the diversity one. But he says, I want to show the world that Afghanistan has such people and talents that this is a way of progress for me and my country, but I never had this opportunity. I didn't have the chance to show my talent and ask all people to support me. My biggest problem will be solved because I've never had a supporter, and this is the biggest problem of my path. Yeah, Afghanistan. Call him on WhatsApp. If don't harass him. Of course, we can't. We don't want to do that. What if we just messages on him on WhatsApp? I don't think I even have WhatsApp. I'll look him up on Instagram later. That'll be a fun segment. If I start talking to an Afghani parkourer. Let's see if we can watch his parkour video here. Where the volume at? Wait for the end. I mean, Afghanistan looks like it's not doing that bad, to be honest with you.
Turn it up, Jordan.